through video or through the phone. If you're visiting us today, we welcome you. You can complete a form to acknowledge your visiting status at decorahuu.org/contact us to receive our weekly electronic newsletter or to learn more about our congregation. And you can learn always more about Unitarian Universalism at uua.org. Now we have our announcements we'll begin with. For the sake of those of you who are joining us by audio only, I will read some of the announcements, but not all of them. We have our typical, first of all, does anybody have an announcement? Carolyn, you put up an announcement. You want to explain that about collective action?
Yeah, I put that up because it's easy to see it, and I could. But Collective Action for Racial Equity will be meeting on Tuesday, May 18th at 6 p.m. And if you're not already on the listserv, you can contact me to find out more.
Sue Oddie has an announcement.
I do. There aren't a lot of people on yet, and I know this will get out there again through our weekly email, but I wanted to remind people that in 2 weeks, our next service in 2 weeks, we'll be talking a bit about what's gone on during this last year and a half, stories of the pandemic, reflections on how you were thriving, how you were languishing, as the New York Times has put it, many of us are, or how you flourished through some way. So let's think about some of your stories. I'm going to share a personal piece first, and then I welcome all of you to share your particular stories. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. Any other announcements from our participants here? Our Share the Plate recipient for May and June is Horse and Soul Ranch Therapeutic Riding. And always, if you want to donate to the plate recipient, see Decorah UU Giving. If you're sending a check, you put Share the Plate in the memo line. Donations can be mailed to Decorah UU, P.O. Box 382, Decorah, Iowa 52101. And as we said, next Sunday, there is no service. And then May 23rd, we'll have the service that Sue just summarized for us. The board will meet on Thursday, May 27th via Zoom. And if you have a photograph, we're collecting photographs of UU members. And if you have a photograph of yourself, please send it to Carolyn Cordman, who can add it to our archive of photos that we're sharing during these Zoom services. Any other announcements? Okay, thank you very much. This service, I have to always remind us, the service is being recorded. It's live streamed and recorded. So with the exception of the joys and sorrows portion of the service, anything you say will be available in the transcript and the recording. Today's service is on the fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And then we have our chalice lighting this morning. Janet will read to us for that.
Okay. We light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one baby, child, or youth into adulthood, to celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and compassion in growing minds and hearts, to celebrate those who have committed time, money, energy to the growth of others in this world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love.
Thank you, Janet. Happy Mother's Day to all of you and to all of us. And Carolyn is lighting a symbolic candle for us there, so we appreciate that. Next, we have our opening song, Feeling Good by Lauryn Hill.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, new life for me. Woo, 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 woo. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, yeah. You know what I mean, yeah. Butterflies are having fun. You know what I mean. Oh, sleep in peace when day is done. That's what I mean. It's a world, it's a new world that had up overboard for me. Stars when you shine, you know what I feel. Shit of the pine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom. Hey, oh, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. I'm feeling good. You know I'm sure enough feeling I'm feeling Thank you so much. God bless Nina Simone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Carolyn, for that selection. That was a great way to get us started. Feeling Good, tribute to Nina Simone. Thank you. Next we have our land acknowledgement, and Sue Oddie. Is Lolly here?
No, she's not.
No, she's not. Okay, Sue Oddie, would you read us the land acknowledgement, please?
I sure will. With this land acknowledgement, our congregation is engaging in a practice of truth-telling and reconciliation. Northeast Iowa was first home to the Iowa or the Bahoche, the Sac, Fox or Meskwaki, the Dakota, and the Ho-Chunk. We recognize the ongoing relationship of Indigenous people to this land and follow their lead as we endeavor to be stewards as we go forward. Please pause with me for a moment as we commit our hearts to uplifting, standing with, listening to, and following the lead of Black, Indigenous, and people of color as we endeavor to create the world in which we want to live.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue. This is the time in our service where we have our joys and sorrows. And we invite anyone who wishes to come forward to raise their virtual hand and light a votive candle as you share any joys or concerns with the fellowship. And I think, Sue, we should pause the recording, and Carrie has her hand raised. So next up, we'll have our song for Thanksgiving of the gifts that people have given us. Thank you. So our theme for this morning is movies and documentaries that uplift Black, Indigenous, and people of color. I'm going to call on Carolyn to get us started with some films that we all might add to our growing, for what I will say personally, is a growing list of films that I need to catch up on. And then we'll open it up and ask for participants to add their films that they would like us to draw to our attention. So Carolyn, why don't you get us started, and I'll try and monitor the chat. If you have a film you want to recommend, raise your hand or add to the chat as we're going through some of these films.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. I have quite a little queue lined up. So, but the first three films I want to share are all on Canopy. And if I'm looking at the people who are here today, I bet you know what Canopy is. And if you don't, it's through the public library and they're free, and I can help you get your Canopy account set up. So these are for sure free ones that you can get through if you have the internet. And the first one I have the trailer for is called Standing on My Sister's Shoulders. And it is a civil rights documentary, and one that I wish I had seen sooner, because it tells about the civil rights movement of the 60s through the eyes of women activists, Fannie Lou Hamer, and other women that it's just, my feeling is I was just left with inspiration and hopefulness and can-do-itness. So it's a beautiful film. It's uplifting. And I think it's like about a 2 or 3 minute trailer. So I don't know if this will show good through your computers, but I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer.
It hasn't been so long ago. 1963, that blacks in this country could not register without getting their heads cracked. I've seen it.
There's a light inside, and we're gonna let it shine.
You see, these people come with guns to defend this. This vote really must be about something.
And I say, America, you need to think about your soul.
Justice will come if we hold on, and freedom will come if we stand strong.
We didn't just walk on the floor, we stole into the convention hall.
We want to register to become first-class citizens.
And I said, if I die for something.
Lord knows the road so long to freedom.
Has anybody else watched this film? Does anybody else have a thought about it?
I haven't watched it, but it looks wonderful. I'd love to see it.
I'll read a little review. One of the best films on the civil rights movement, this award-winning documentary reveals the movement in Mississippi in the 50s and 60s from the point of view of the courageous women who lived it and emerged as its grassroots leaders. Standing on My Sister's Shoulders is full of riveting historical footage and original interviews with Fannie Lou Hamer, Annie Devine, Unita Blackwell, May Bertha Carter, Victoria Gray Adams, Dory Ladner, and more. Voter registration, the fight for equal education, desegregation, and of course the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party's challenge at the Democratic Convention are featured. It's so uplifting. You'll just put this on the top of your queue, folks.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Maybe I'd bop over, and Janet, do you want to share the series that you were talking about earlier?
Janet, you're muted.
Oh.
Okay.
Thanks.
It's part of a documentary series on PBS called Philly DA, about a progressive district attorney. But the episode I watched this morning that I really learned something from was it's season 22 of Philly DA, episode 4, and it's about a Black and gay activist, Latonia T. Myers, and she is pursuing systematic probation reform, even though she's been on probation and faces features 10 more years of being on probation for a gun and drug incident that happened when she was a teenager, and she could not make bail. So she was put in jail and finally paroled to the probation system. But it's pretty moving, and I learned a lot about the probation system and how it's so destructive for communities. Just would really recommend this whole series. It's pretty interesting, but I learned a lot from Latonia Myers. So,
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds interesting. And I think I can get PBS just on the internet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
My brains. I have another film to share. Oops.
It hasn't been.
Hang on. The next film I was going to share from Canopy is a much more lighthearted kind of family movie. It's called Hunt for the Wilder People. And let me open up a description of it. Just a second. Hunt for the Wilder People is set in New Zealand. Oh, my screen just jumped. Hang on. Oh, why do screens move on us?
They have a mind of their own. That's why they're gremlins inside the machine.
Technology is our friend, right? So Hunt for the Wilder People is set in New Zealand, where Ricky, a tween teenage Maori boy, gets one last shot as a foster kid with rural farmers Bella and her curmudgeonly husband Heck, who tolerates the kid for his wife's benefit. Ricky is just starting to get used to his new auntie and uncle when circumstances leave Ricky and Heck on their own, with Child Protection Services led by humorless caseworker Paula prepared to take Ricky to juvenile detention. The boy instead heads into the bush with his dog Tupac. Heck follows him, but after an accident, the two must stay in the bush so long that the authorities launch a manhunt to find Ricky and his alleged kidnapper in quotes. The odd couple, of course, believes that staying in the bush and living off the land is the only way to avoid capture. So I will play the trailer.
Ricky Baker.
He is a bad egg, a youth court regular.
We're hoping that this change of scene will help straighten him out.
You hungry? That's a silly question, isn't it? Look at you.
Ricky Baker, now you are 13 years old. You are a teenager and you're as good as gold.
Ricky, this is Heck. You can call him Uncle if you like.
No, I can't.
Lola told me to tell you that you should give me something to do. Is there anything you want me to do?
Yeah. Leave me alone.
Cool. You ever been up in that jungle before?
There's about 1 million hectares of it, buddy. It's easy to get lost.
You lost?
Oh.
I'm amazed how lost you got.
You little bastard!
We got no choice but to camp out here for a few weeks.
Where are you, Ricky Baker?
More on this massive national manhunt.
Faulkner is Caucasian. Well, they got that wrong because you're obviously white.
You're going to jail, you pervert.
What you call me?
You pervert.
Back up, homies, and let go of my uncle! So what do we do now?
We run. No. No, we don't need to run.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Let's just fast walk.
Gonna be rough. No huts, no tents, real bush life. And if you play up, I'll dump you.
Okay, Uncle.
I'd still prefer if you don't call me Uncle.
Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
What's the fastest way out of here?
Jetpack! Do you actually have a jetpack?
No. What? We're offering $10,000 to anyone who can capture them, dead or alive. Alive. They should be alive.
Crumpy! Oh, mate, she's a bit bumpy around here.
Love you, Ricky.
Ricky! And the axe who did this? Tell them it was the wilder people.
The water people?
I'll never stop running.
Yeah, and I'll never stop chasing you. I'm relentless. I'm like the Terminator.
I'm more like Terminator than you.
I said it first. You're more like Sarah Connor. In the first movie, too, before she could do chin-ups.
Okay, I absolutely adore this movie. I have watched it many times, and not in small part for the cinematography. I've never been to New Zealand, but that's like the best way to see New Zealand is by like drone, where you're flying over this amazing scenery. So you probably recognize Sam Neill as Uncle Heck, and the young kid is a talent to behold. It does deal with some issues. So it's kind of more of a tween and up age stuff where he's in the foster care system. It's not good, it's bad. And he's victimized of it. So, but then, it's very uplifting and it's a story of—
I agree, Carolyn. I agree. It was a great movie. Lyle and I both loved it. Wonderful, wonderful movie. It's fun.
Did you watch it with children?
Nope. Just Lyle and me.
Also on Canopy. So, and also I'll say it's made by a director named Taika Waititi, who's from New Zealand. He's a Maori person from New Zealand. And he has another film called Boy on Canopy. And I also recommend Boy by Taika Waititi.
Thank you.
And the third one I have from on Canopy is a musical documentary called A Tuba to Cuba. And if you like New Orleans jazz, and has anybody been to Preservation Hall in New Orleans? you've heard of Preservation Hall, and it's where like the authentic, awesome jazz is performed. And this is sort of a story about Preservation Hall, its formation in New Orleans, and then these musicians from Preservation Hall go to Cuba, and it tells an overarching story of the African diaspora and the connection of people from Africa to Africa through music, and it's very luscious. So I will play the clip.
New Orleans, this is the place where jazz was born. Understanding our history is understanding the elements that formed who we are. And part of that is understanding Cuba. I got my start playing jazz in New Orleans brass bands. My father played tuba.
It was his idea in 1961 to open up a club in New Orleans. He called it Preservation Hall.
Oh man, it's gonna be exciting to jam with some Cuban musicians.
I can't think of a better dignitary than Preservation Hall.
The outreach elements of this trip, where our band is interacting with Cuban musicians, is essential.
Through music, we'll be able to start a conversation.
19 hours on a bus across a mountain range.
The closer we were getting to Santiago, man, you could just feel something in the air.
You get more out of life when you believe in building bridges. This incredible musical tradition performed by these pioneers of New Orleans jazz. That's why Preservation Hall is here today.
I feel like Preservation Hall is out spreading the word. It's like a bridge to another world.
We came here on this musical journey, and we discovered a piece of us that's been missing.
When the tuba came out, everybody lit up.
Karen, Estrel, your hand is up, so I'm just checking to see if you have something you want like to share.
Hi, yeah, I don't know if these are already on your list. So I was thinking about Judah and the Black Messiah and Crip Camp. Has anybody else talked about, like, did they send that to you ahead of time to talk about it, or shall I say something?
You can definitely talk about those. I don't have them on the list.
Okay.
They should be.
Okay. Good. So Judah and the Black Messiah came out on HBO Max. And I think that right now it's kind of in between its theatrical release, which they did in both theaters and HBO because of the pandemic, and its normal home release. So I imagine that in the next several months, it will start to become available either through things like Redbox or through streaming services. I'm not sure which streaming services it could land on, but it's something to look for when it does come out. It's a biographical drama film about the betrayal of Fred Hampton, who was the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party in the late 60s in Chicago. And for me, it was revealing in a variety of ways. I know when I was younger, I had the impression that Black Panthers were always violent, always militant, and had no idea about actually all of the good that the Black Panther Party has done in this country. And also all the ways in which they were often set up by our own government. So getting a sense of that, I think is very important, rewriting the narrative. So I would really recommend Judah and the Black Messiah. And it reminds me of Crip Camp, which is about something you would think completely different, which is, it starts with a focus on a camp from the 1970s where folks with a variety of disabilities would go. And they themselves refer to it as Crip Camp. and kind of embraced that nomenclature. But a lot of the people who went to that camp later on became activists within the disability rights movement, and in fact, ultimately helped with the passage of the ADA. And what was interesting is that as part of that, they came to occupy a government building in protest, and the Black Panthers were among the people that were bringing in food and supplies and other things to keep the disability activists going in the midst of their protests. So there actually are intersections that people might not be aware of. And Crip Camp is available for streaming on Netflix. Those are the two films that I would recommend.
I know I've had a real interest in seeing Crip Camp. I went, you know, I have cerebral palsy, and when I grew up, I went to a camp called Camp Sunnyside, which is here in Iowa for people with disabilities. So when I heard about Crip Camp, I thought that's something I have to see, but I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Excellent.
Yeah, thanks. Great suggestions, Karen. What are there any other people who have brought suggestions? I have stuff, but I don't want to skip people. Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, then after me, Sue. James Baldwin was in the process of writing a manuscript about Medgar Evers and Malcolm X and I think Martin Luther King Jr. And he was trying to sort of tell the story of race relations through the biographies of these men. And many of James Baldwin's writings were sort of used to create this film entitled "I Am Not Your Negro," which is a phrase from one of his essays. I am not your Negro. And it's a very powerful exploration about race in America and the double consciousness that Black citizens feel they just inherit as part of their status in America, the feeling of being of America, but not in America because they have not been welcomed in America. I Am Not Your Negro, and I don't know where it's streaming, so I'm sorry I can't report on that. Sue.
Yes, about 2 years ago, just before the pandemic, in that fall, I believe, I went over to Effigy Mounds to their film festival because I wanted to see this movie that I had seen part of before, and it was produced by Iowans, and it's about these people that we talk about when we do our land acknowledgement. Local history is often a hard thing to find out a lot about, and there aren't many movies made that document some of that. And it's particularly about the Iowa, the Bachoche people that we speak of in our land acknowledgement. And it's called Lost Nation, the Iowa. And I purchased the three, it's part 1, 2, and 3, and I purchased them. I was only able to stay to watch the first one that Saturday morning. But it's very interesting and informative because these people, many of them, they're still around. They still are trying to get their elders together and learn from them about their history, learning about their language. And so it's kind of fascinating. And perhaps at some point, I'm happy to loan these DVDs out to you. They don't show up, well, you can't see them on the screen anyway. They're backwards and they glow in the weird light here, but they're very informative, and it's just interesting to know about these people who are actually on our land here. So if anyone is interested at any time, if we were all together, I'd show them down at the Lingonberry and we could watch them together, since we have done some reading about our Indigenous history. That's all.
I love that idea, Sue, that maybe at some point we can come together and watch these in the Lingonberry. I'm dreaming, and it will happen someday soon. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a film that they'd like to share with us, a title? Karen, we've got a couple more minutes. Should we show another clip and have you talk through another?
Sorry, it does that. I can't make it stop. I'm not going to play the trailer for Concrete Cowboy. Okay, I'll just give you the quick overview. It is based on the true story of urban cowboys, Black urban cowboys. This happens to take place in Philadelphia or someplace up there. And so it does tell this overarching story of there are many urban cowboys, Black urban cowboys, and there's actual real urban cowboys that are cast in this Hollywood film. It does have some fair and critical reviews, which is it kind of glosses over the reality, and it kind of relies on some storyline tropes that don't feel as uplifting in some ways, but ultimately it is really a beautiful story of people and horses and family, and Idris Elba plays the father. So I still recommend it, and do read the critical reviews and decide for yourself if the storyline could be better. That movie. Voices of Fire is on Netflix. And I think I will play the trailer. It kind of speaks for itself.
Give me a second.
It's okay. You all right?
At last, my love has come along, and life is like a song.
Trying to tell you. I am Bishop Ezekiel Williams. I've always had a dream to build the world's most inspirational choir. Pharrell is my nephew, and we recruited a panel of expert judges.
If we didn't have to pay for it, I'd tell you to drop the mic.
Each singer will just have one shot. There will be no callbacks.
You should probably judge them on their ability to be compatible.
So we'll do what I like to call shaking the tree. Now, if she kills this, the spot is hers.
I want to share my life through music. I want to help others the way others' music have helped me.
We have a lot of people that are doing things that they should not be able to do.
I suffer from social anxiety.
When I came to, I was paralyzed from the neck down and told I'd never walk again.
Suicide attempts, they failed, so like I have no choice but to keep going.
Wow.
How many real opportunities in life do you get?
I want to be in this choir pretty bad and contribute to something bigger than myself.
Without further ado, the Voices of Fire.
Has anybody else seen Voices of Fire?
No, but I want to. Wow.
You know, there's good critical reviews, and go ahead and, by all means, always read the good critical reviews. But ultimately, if you like gospel music and stories of people overcoming challenges, I think it's a 5 or 6 or 7 part series. And it was a balm for me this winter trying to get through rough spots, right?
Yeah.
Do I have time for one more?
Well, we've got a note in the chat.
Oh, great.
About Juanita on Netflix, about a Black single mother who discovers a Native American community.
Juanita on Netflix. Good. Who is recommending? Oh, Melva, is that you recommending Juanita?
Melva is recommending that.
Melva, do you want to say anything more? Or Fred? Maybe not.
Maybe not. Okay.
Melva's getting a cup of coffee. Well, I do have the trailer for Hidden Figures, and raise your hand if you have seen Hidden Figures. Yeah, I thought maybe some of us had, but I rewatched it this winter, and it's just such a darn good film, and it in terms of uplifting. Yeah. So Karen, did you raise your hand? Do you want to join in?
No, I just wanted to raise my hand to acknowledge that I'd seen it, but I was slow.
Let me just play the trailer. It's such a great trailer. I love trailers anyhow.
Equilateral, trapezoid, isosceles, tetrahedron.
I've never seen a mind like the one your daughter has. You have to see what she becomes.
Come on! Move like that.
Catherine, we all gonna end up unemployed riding around in this pile of junk.
You're welcome to walk the 16 miles.
Or sit in the back of the bus.
Kiss me up.
You have identification on?
We're just on our way to work at NASA, sir.
I had no idea they hired.
There are quite a few women working in the space program.
You know what we're doing here? We're putting a human on top of a missile, shooting him into space, and it's never been done before. I need a mathematician that can look beyond the numbers. Math that doesn't yet exist. Before the Russians plant a flag on the damn moon.
You have someone?
Running what I'm playing.
Catherine's the gal for that. She can handle any numbers you put in front of her. Don't embarrass me.
This wasn't empty last night?
I'm sorry, I'm not the...
That Colonel Jim is a tall glass of water.
He's coming over.
Now, why would he be doing that?
Cause Mary's waving at me.
No! Dorothy, slice of pie?
I love one. You already have a slice of pie, Dorothy.
Oh, left and left about it.
You're a computer at NASA. They let women handle that sort of...
Yes, it's an uphill battle.
Yes, they let women do some things at NASA, Mr. Johnson. And it's not because we wear skirts. It's because we wear glasses. We go from being our father's daughters to our husband's wives to our baby's mothers.
You've been gone for 300 hours.
Was Mama gone for 12 and a half days?
No, but it felt like it.
It felt like it to me, too.
It's crunch time. In 14 days, astronauts will be here for training. Everything we do can matter to their wives, to their children. I believe it's going to matter to the whole damn country.
My gals are ready. We can do the work. That's John Glenn.
What do you ladies do for NASA?
Calculate your launch and landing, sir.
Engineering. And I'm proud as the devil to be working with you.
How could you possibly be ogling these white men?
It's equal rights. I have the right to see fine in Africa.
There's no protocol for women attending.
There's no protocol for a man circling the earth either, sir.
Every time we have a chance to get ahead, they move the finish line. Every time.
We all get there together, or we don't get there at all.
It's good to know NASA hadn't given up on good old-fashioned brain power.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let me ask you, if you were a white male, would you wish to be an engineer?
I wouldn't have to. I'd already be one.
Don't you know that we're able?
That is three brilliant African-American women at NASA: Katherine Johnson, played by Taraji P. Henson, Dorothy Vaughan, played by Octavia Spencer, and Mary Jackson, played by Janelle Monáe, serve as the brains behind one of the greatest operations in history, the launch of astronaut John Glenn into orbit, a stunning achievement that restored the nation's confidence, turned around the space race, and galvanized the world. A stellar performance by these three lead people, and it pulls on the hearts and grooves with the music, and it's just world class. I have two more movies I'm going to flick through. I don't know if I'm going to play the trailer for Soul. It's just out on Disney. It won a bunch of awards for, I forget all what, mostly I paid attention to the soundtrack that's played by John Batiste, who's the Stephen Colbert's musical conductor. And the music carries it, but the story carries it. It's got It's animated, it's kid-friendly. It opens up so much conversation if you have kids around, and the chance to talk about your UU beliefs and values. So I'm going to skip to the...
Disney and Pixar's Soul.
Sorry. The Farewell is the last one I want to show, and I think I'll just play the trailer.
What's wrong, Dad? Please tell me.
Your nan is dying.
She doesn't know, so you can't say anything. The family thinks it's better not to tell her.
Why is that better?
Chinese people have a saying, when people get cancer, they die. We have to go to China.
Wedding is an excuse so everyone can see her.
He's my only cousin. Did you think I should be there?
You can't hide your emotions. If you go, Nana will find out right away.
Really 呀？咋啦？咋不说话呢？今天人多齐呀，好久没这么聚了，奶奶就等着这一天呐。来，大口咬，哇！哈哈哈哈！
你觉得我们应该告诉奶奶吗？
太痛苦了吧？
如果她想说再见呢？
你告诉她就毁了她美好的心情，你说对吧？
搭到她的肩膀上。你说我都怀疑我又不在，他俩在卧室能干啥呀？
Shouldn't we tell her? Isn't it wrong to lie?
It's a good lie. Most families in China would choose not to tell her.
你们说的啥呀？
她在英国学习，所以她会说英文。
结婚了吗？
妈。
She's dying. Can you be a little more sensitive?
What do you want from me? To scream and cry like you?
因为你把生命看成是个体的，这正是西方和东方的文化差异问题。东方人是把生命看作是集体的家庭。
I want to believe that is a good thing.
因为生活呀，不光是你去做什么，更是你如何去做。 好多了，好多了，再来点气儿，再来点气儿。
I recommend it. You can talk about all kinds of things regarding death, and ultimately, this movie is not a bummer. It has a surprise ending. It's uplifting. You won't be sad, I promise. and that concludes my list, Nancy.
Thank you, Carolyn. Anybody else want to add real quickly? Any particulars? Julie wants to get in here. Julie, unmute.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the film about Harriet Tubman. I think that was really good. I saw it, and I think a lot of us did, but that was inspiring to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready for our closing song, which is by the great Stevie Wonder, right, Carolyn? Higher Ground. Let's go have some fun. This is what the movie's Thank you. And then we have Janet's going to read our Extinguishing the Chalice reading. Janet, unmute yourself. Janet, are you still with us?
You know, I think she might have got bumped off somehow because she came back on later. So if it's all right, maybe
I'll read it.
Okay.
Who said that? Julie.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll read it. Okay. Yeah. We clasp the hands of those that go before us and the hands of those who come after us. We enter the little circle of each other's arms and the larger circle of lovers whose hands are joined in a dance, and the larger circle of all poets passing in and out of life, who move also in a dance, to a music so subtle and vast that no ear hears it, except in fragments. Wendell Berry, thank you.
Thank you. And we would add, of course, to that phrase of the poets, we would add the filmmakers.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, and we've got Melvin suggested one more film on the chat that you can all see there, Fisherman's Diary. So Carolyn will somehow compile all these films or something and put them in a list that we can share with people who were not able to be with us today. We look forward to seeing you again soon in 2 weeks. Our service will be on loss, stress, and stolen pleasure, reflections on a pandemic year with Sue Oddie, May 23rd. Thank you all.
Great job,
Happy
Nancy.
Mother's Day. No, thank you, Carolyn. The work was all yours. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much, everybody. It was great.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
All right.